In this lesson, we're going to discuss different types of interest rates. And before we do that, let me provide you kind of a big overview of the role interest rates plays when you borrow money or when you invest money. When you borrow money from a bank, the original loan amount is called the principal. So in our example, before the $25,000 was the principal on that loan. When you buy a house, you and the seller of the house negotiate a price, okay? And then if you have the full amount, you can just pay the seller directly. But if you don't have the full amount, you can make use of a financial institution, a bank or credit union to borrow money so that you can purchase the house. What those financial institutions usually do is they require that you put some money down. And so usually they ask you to put down 20% of the sale price. In a way, they're really asking you to show that you have skin in the game and you're not just going to buy the house and then walk away. So the down payment kind of shows them that you are really serious and committed to paying the loan back. From the seller's perspective, the seller expects to get the full negotiated price, but you only have 20%. And so the bank will then provide that additional 80% and pay the seller the full price of the house. You, on the other hand, have entered into a loan with the bank, and now you're going to pay that 80% over a certain amount of time. But the bank isn't going to give you the money out of the goodness of their heart, right? They need to be compensated for having given you or for having paid the seller for the price of the house. And so, the interest is the price that you as the borrower will pay the bank for the use of their money. So, this is very much tied to the concept of time value of money, right? And there are two types of interest that we're going to consider. It's simple interest, where the interest accumulates only on the principal, and you will see how this works in just a minute. And compound interest, which is basically the main type of interest that we're going to see. And that's what businesses and banks use as their primary means of charging interest from consumers. Of course, if you are investing money, then you are putting your money in a bank account, in an investment account, and the bank has access to your capital. And so they need to pay you for having your money invested with them, and then they will pay you interest. So depending on whether you are borrowing or investing, you either pay or receive money from the financial institution. So let's talk about simple interest. We need some notation here. Suppose that P is the principal, is the investment or loan amount the bank is going to charge you an annual interest rate. We're going to talk about what happens when the interest rate is charged monthly versus semi-annually and so forth. But for this example, to illustrate the concept of simple interest, we're going to have a nominal, so what the quoted interest rate on an annual basis. And then we're going to have N to denote the number of periods or the number of years that we are either investing or borrowing the money for. To make this more concrete, let's look at a setting where you are investing. Let's say that your principal is $10,000 and the bank has agreed to pay you 12% annually, okay? Remember that what we said is that now, right, when we invest the money, the account has $10,000 because that's our principal. After 1 year, the account is still going to have the $10,000, but then you've earned 12% on that $10,000, or you're going to get $1,200. And so at the end of the first year, you're going to have $11,200. Notice that I can write this by factoring, right? I have the 10,000 times 1. So that's my original, plus I earned 12%, and this has happened over 1 year. And you're going to see why I'm doing this times 1, which is not really necessary, but so that you can get a sense of how this is going to help us to know what we have in the bank recursively, okay? This one is basically, this is what we have at the end of year 1. At the end of year 2, we start the account with $10,000 plus the $1,200 that we earned the year previous in interest. And then again, we add another 12% on that $10,000. So at the end of year 2, we're going to have 10,000 times. We've now earned interest over 2 years, so we're going to have $12,400. And if we do this for year 3, we're going to have the $10,000 again. That's factored out. Plus, we're going to earn the 12% on this $10,000. We'll have earned it 3 times. And so, we're going to have $13,600. To calculate the future value, what we have at some given time, it's going to be equal to P times 1 plus R times N. Okay? So let's go ahead and actually show you how this is going to look like in Excel. I have already opened the interest Excel file, and I suggest you do the same so that you can follow along. Let's click on cell D7. And here we're going to say at the end of period 0, we have $10,000. So equals C4, and we can lock that. Okay? Enter. At the end of year 1, what are we going to have? We're still going to have the 10,000, and we need to lock that. Type the multiplication symbol and open parentheses. So we're going to have 1 plus the interest rate, and we need to lock that. Then times whatever year we're on. And just remember that because we've covered the formula, here's the one we can't really click on it. What we're going to do is we're going to put an apostrophe before the equal sign to change this into text. And then come back into the cell, go to the formula bar, delete the apostrophe, and then say times period 1 or cell C8 and close the parentheses. Okay? Press enter, and so we have the 11,200. Notice that every period we're adding $1,200 that we're only earning, and that's just so that everyone can see this, right? It's 10,000 times 12%. So we're earning that each year, and we're only earning interest on the principal. Copy this formula down all the way to D27. And so, if we were to invest our money over 20 years, at the end of the 20th year, we would have $34,000. If we come here, we can see that this is a graphical representation of what the money is going to look like. In a separate video, I'm going to show you how to create these stepwise graphs, okay? Which they're a bit tricky to do, but I don't want to get sidetracked on this here. And as you can see, your money is growing linearly. You're getting $1,200 every additional year, okay? So now let's talk about what happens with compound interest. With compound interest, you earn interest not only on the principal, but also on the earned interest, okay? So let's go ahead and look at what happens. Later, we're going to talk about what happens if the compounding is not yearly, but it's monthly or semi-annually and so forth. But for now, we're just compounding once per year. At the end of year 0, so now we have $10,000. At the end of year 1, we're going to have $10,000, which is what we started the year with, plus we're going to earn 12% on the $10,000. So as before, after year 1, we have the same amount. We have $11,200. But then watch what happens at the end of year 2. Well, we will start the year with $11,200, but we will earn 12% not just on the $10,000, but on what we started the year with, okay? And we can write this just so that you can see. We can rewrite 11,200 as was written here originally, and then say on that we're going to earn 12%. We can rewrite this by factoring as 10,000 times 1 plus 12% squared. And notice that this square here is tied to what we have at the end of year 2. If we go on at the end of year 3, we're going to start the year with 12,544, and then we're going to have that, plus we're going to earn 12% on it. And so we can write this again by kind of expanding everything out and say at the end of the third year, we're basically going to have 10,000 multiplied by this factor where we have a 3 here, and we'll have 14,049. And for year 4, and then for year 5, we get these different amounts. And so what this means is that if we invest $10,000, that money is going to grow by 12% in the first year and then again by 12%. And then each subsequent year, whatever we had invested in the previous year is going to grow at 12%. And then here in this example, at the end of 5 years, we have $17,623.42 as our payoff. So the general formula for the future value, what we'll have in the account is going to be given by 1 plus r to the nth. So however many periods we're compounding times the principal amount. Let's do that in Excel. So here at time 0, we're going to have $10,000, okay? And then in year 1, we're going to have $10,000 and we're going to earn. We're still going to have that 1 plus. We're going to earn 12%. So let me lock that. Close parentheses and enter. After 2 years, we're going to have 12,544. Notice that now that the balance of the account is going to be higher because we're earning interest not just on the principal, but we're also earning interest on the interest. As we move down over time, the impact of compound interest is significantly higher. By the end of a 20-period horizon, our account has $96,000. So to use the formula we derived earlier, it's going to be 1 plus the interest rate, which we have to lock, raised to the period that we're on, times the principal, and we need to lock that. Now let's autofit. Notice that we get the same results. And if I press Ctrl-Tilde, we can see the formulas here. So this one uses a recursive calculation, where this one is using the formula in the lecture. Note, it's important to recognize that we use compound interest. The money grows according to the geometric rate, okay? So it's not linear. And you can see the difference when I compare kind of compound versus simple and how the money is growing. Here the rate is linear, and here it's geometric in nature. And this is going to be really great when you're investing money because you're going to get a really nice payoff. But it's really bad when you're paying a credit card and you have interest accruing. Your balance is going to be growing according to this geometric rate, which is really undesirable. Let's actually talk about what a geometric growth rate means. And so again, right, we have our example here where we're investing $10,000 and the account uses a compound interest rate of 12% per year. And what we did before is that we said, how much will we have? So the future value at the end of year 5 is going to be 17,623. And here's the compound factor, okay? So let's suppose that we take that money that we had at the end of year 5 and invest it for another 5 years. The question is, how much will we have then? What we're going to do is we're going to say at the end of year 10, well, our new principal is what we had at the end of year 5, and then it's going to grow at 12% over 5 years. At the end of 10 years, we'll have $31,000 in the account. And what it means to be geometric is that if I compare what I have in year 10 versus year 5 versus what I have in year 5 versus the original, the principal of the loan, these ratios are the same. So that means that for any 5-year period, you're growing at the same proportion. And this brings me to actually discussing very briefly the rule of 72. The rule of 72 is really a rule of thumb that tells us how long it will take us to have an investment double in value based on its rate of return, or R, okay? And this rule looks like this. It says take the number of periods is going to be 72 divided by the percent times 100. So if it's at 1% annually, it's going to take you 72 years. If we look here in Excel, what we're going to see is that if your interest rate is 2% per year, it's going to take you 36 years. At 10%, it's going to take you 7.2 years. And at 30%, we're going to have it happening at a little bit under 2.5 years. The actual number of periods is going to be given by a formula that looks at how much until we have twice our principal, given that our money is growing according to this formula. 1 plus r raised to the t, divide both sides by p. If we get rid of the p's, we now have this equation. I hope you understood the different types of interest rates and how we can use them into Excel. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments Q&A section. If you are interested in learning more about financial formulas and business models, check out my Excel Financial Modeling and Business Analysis Masterclass course. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'm going to catch you in the next video.